You don't want to be cheap. You don't want to cancel every bit of fun you have in your life. You don't want your kids growing up feeling they're restricted, they're lacking. But at the same time, you're tired of feeling stuck, stretched, tired of wondering, where did all my money go? I had some and now it's all gone. And still feeling like there's no space. And that's the tension. Every time someone says cut expenses, it sounds like sacrifice. It sounds hard. They're like, get rid of this out of your lifestyle. I'm going to make my life smaller. But what if I told you cutting expenses done right doesn't shrink your life, it stretches it? Because this isn't about being frugal, it's about building margin, and margin is peace. This makes you have peace and that you can control your life. Last week, we did the first 5 principles of who you need to become. So this week, we're going to do 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let's jump in. If you didn't get to watch the last one, just go back and watch it. But this is really going to help you. Okay, principle number 6. The principle of hidden leaks. Okay, by the way. Wealthy rarely disappears in explosions. It disappears through dips. Let me say that again. Wealth rarely disappears in explosions. It disappears in drips. Most people think their financial pressure is caused by big decisions, the house, the car, the school fees. But most financial strain doesn't come from the massive mistakes. It often comes from the unnoticed leaks, subscriptions you forgot about, that gym that you've signed up to that you haven't been to the last 3 years, convenience fees, food wastes, interest on small balances, late fees, impulse Amazon buys, daily habits that feel insignificant. Just get Uber Eats again for the 8th time this week. But they compound negatively. And here's what's dangerous about those leaks. They don't feel urgent. They don't feel dramatic. You just ignore them. But small leaks sink big ships. You don't need to raise to fix leaks. You can do that today. You just need awareness. This is where discipline comes in. Because cutting one $800 expense feels painful. But plugging 8 $100 leaks, that feels empowering. And here's the deeper truth. Leaks are usually emotional. Convenience purchases, boredom purchases, stress purchases, guilt purchases. I need to buy this for someone. The drip is rarely about necessity. It's about comfort. Comfort unmanaged can cost you big time. And here's an example. For 30 days, track your unplanned spending. Not essential spending, not bills, only the unplanned one. And at the end of 30 days, assess your leaks. Which ones do you actually need? You can look at them. No judgment. Just decide, does this align with where I want my money to go? Because again, you're not cutting randomly. You're sealing the leaks strategically. Look back and just go, does this align with where I want my money to go? Not dramatically, just steadily. Steadily wins. Okay, so that's hidden leaks. Next one, principle 7. The principle of freedom first. What do I mean by that? Every dollar should move you closer to freedom, not further from it. This is the highest principle. This is the filter. Before you spend, ask one question. Does this money move me from point A to point B, and point B is where I wanted to go? Or does it move me to point C, which is in the completely wrong direction, away from where I want to be financially? Freedom means ownership, options, time, peace, some expenses that you can get rid of, education, assets, tools, health. Where do you want to be? Some expenses decrease freedom. Some expenses increase freedom. Some create debt. Some go to depreciating liabilities, things that take money out of your pocket. Recurring ego payments. And here's the maturity shift. Stop asking, can I afford it? Start asking, what does this cost my freedom? Does this align with where I want to be? Because if you can afford it, that's okay. But do I want to afford it? Is this my part of my plan? This is where I want to be, or is it going to enslave you? The borrower is servant to the lender. Payments are invisible chains that keep you trapped. And most people aren't broke, they're just bound by recurring obligations they volunteered to accept. Right? Those obligations come in form of bills, weekly, monthly, fortnightly bills. Freedom requires restraint, not restriction. Restraint is strength. Restriction feels like punishment. When you understand what you're purchasing and you're purchasing freedom, it doesn't feel restraint. It feels like you're being empowered. And here's the shift I want you to make. Instead of spending to feel successful, spend to become stable. Instead of buying upgrades, buy options. Because real wealth is not about what you drive, it's about what you have to tolerate. What you don't have to tolerate, gives you more choices. And the more freedom you build, the less consumption you crave, because peace replaces your pressure. Okay, number 8, the principle. If you're liking these, let me know in the comments. The principle of trade-off awareness. What does that mean? Every dollar you spend eliminates another possibility. Money is stored for life. It represents your time you worked, energy you gave, skill you developed. So when you spend your money, you're not just losing currency, you're trading possibility. Every purchase says, I chose this instead of that. I chose A instead of B. I stored apples instead of oranges. But most people spend without seeing that trade. They only see the item. I just wanted that thing. They don't see the opportunity cost. That $400 impulse buy, well, that's what I felt I needed. But it wasn't just $400. You traded that because you could have invested that. You traded that impulse buy for education, a book, a course, a down payment for something, ownership, peace, paying off debt. These are all the things you're trading. And whether you realize it or not, indecision is a decision. So some people say, oh, I'm not getting that thing, or I am getting that thing, right? Or, oh, I don't know, I'm just going to leave it. But indecision is a decision. It's a decision not to act. And the reason cutting expenses feels painful is because that's what you focus on. You focus on what you're giving up, not what you're gaining. If I said to you, you could have this $400 item, or you could have this $400 invested in this share, and it's going to over the next 5 years triple in value, and going to give you $2,500 back. Well, that makes more sense, doesn't it? The payoff. But the problem is we don't see it. We just go, oh, I want this thing right now. They see what they gain by not spending. Sorry, they miss what they gain by not spending. When you increase trade-off awareness, that's what we need to do, increase the trade-off awareness, then it becomes easy, not just emotional. You can see, what's this thing actually worth? Is it worth $400, or is it as I can invest it somewhere else, and I can grow myself, I'll become better, become more valuable in the marketplace by upskilling, so I can actually create more wealth. That's a great way to increase yourself. That's the trade-off. And if you ignore that, if you miss that, then you don't know what you're missing out on. You need to say, I'm choosing something better. And that shift alone removes the feeling of restriction, because now you're choosing something better. You're not denying yourself, and you're empowering yourself. Okay. Number 9, the principle of emotional mastery. You know what Myron Golden's definition of mastery is? The ability to execute execute effortlessly without the use of conscious resources. What does that mean? When you first started to learn to drive a car, it took all your focus, all your attention, right? You had to focus, you had to put your seatbelt on, adjust the mirrors, you start the car, you're like, okay, clutch in, first gear, release the clutch, put the accelerator down, blinker on, pull out in traffic, look over my shoulder. You focus on everything, right? You're trying to take it all in. Now, you jump in the car and drive to work and you're like, how did I even get to work today? Who's ever done that? Because you've mastered that skill. It's become so easy. You're like, did I just go through a red light? How many lights did I do on the way to red lights did I get onto work? I don't even remember, because you've mastered it. And that's what you need to do, master your emotions. And if you don't control your emotions, your money will. Most overspending isn't financial, it's emotional. Stress, spend. Celebrate, spend. Bored, spend. Insecure, spend. Not stress, spend. Hungry, spend. Spending becomes therapy, right? We're like anxious, spend. Stressed, spend, right? It becomes our therapy. But here's the danger. Retail therapy creates financial pressure, and financial pressure creates more stress. And the cycle just keeps on going. More stress, more bored, more insecure. Just keeps going. I've got to spend again. I've got to spend again. And that's a cycle. And you don't want to be that. You need to master your emotions. And the cycles don't break with spreadsheets. They break with awareness. Pause long enough to ask, what am I actually feeling right now? Lonely, overwhelmed, stressed, unmotivated, hungry? What is it? Money can't fix those problems. It only numbs them temporarily. And when the numbness fades, the bill still remains. Financial maturity requires emotional maturity, because restraint is not about lack, it's about control. And control builds confidence. You don't need to eliminate enjoyment. You need to separate your emotion from your decision making. That's called becoming an adult. When you're a child, your emotions control your decision making. When you're an adult, you need to be able to separate them, not just in your outbursts, not just when someone have something that you want, but when it comes to your finances. Okay, number 10, the principle of stewardship. Stewardship. You don't own your money, you manage it. This is the highest frame, because once you understand stewardship, everything changes. Stewards don't waste resources, they deploy them. And if you saw yourself as a manager of your resources that you have, you're entrusted with your time, your resources, your money. These are all resources, your friends, your family, they're resources, and you are to steward them. That's your job. And if you saw yourself as if this was your job, you went to work and you had to report, how did I spend my time today? How did I spend my money today? How did I spend my relationships today? Would you manage them differently? If you were being accountable, you should be. You need to ask different questions, not what do I feel like buying, but ask, what is the highest and best use for this amount of money? That's power shift. That's stewardship. That's intentional. That's wisdom. That's patience, long-term thinking. When you operate as a steward, cutting expenses doesn't feel like a loss. It feels responsible. It feels like you're a leader. It feels strength. Because now you understand money is a tool, a resource, a seed, something to be planted that's going to grow more and more over time. And it's not just to be consumed. Your money is meant to be planted. When you see money as a seed, you don't feel like you're just going to waste it on expenses. It's going to be disciplined. It's going to be more productive. And that's transformative to your life. Okay, let me leave with you this. None of these principles are about going cheap. They're not about restriction. They're not about squeezing every dollar till it feels small. They're about leadership. Because at the end of the day, money management is self-management. It's internal. If your spending is misaligned, if your life is misaligned, if your feelings are misaligned, if your lifestyle expands faster than your wisdom, pressure will follow. And if your emotion leads your decision making, your finances will be unstable. I'm telling you. But if you can control your decision making, become an adult when it comes to your finances, your lifestyle is going to grow, and you're going to create that margin that we talked about earlier. And if you align your money with the values that you have, if you replace it instead of remove it, if you build margin instead of status, and if you delay expansion, seal the leaks, if you choose freedom over the ego, that's something powerful that happens. You stop feeling behind, you stop feeling stretched, you stop feeling you need more income is the only solution, and you start feeling in control, get peace. And that's the goal, realizing where you want to be and being on purpose, for a purpose, design. Let's go. That's the goal. Not more stuff, not more stress, but peace. The ability to handle surprises without panic. The ability to say no. The ability to offer resources when you can. Instead of having money decide, no, I can't do this, say, no, I actually have the money and we can do this. Stop letting money be in control. Nobody drifts into margin. Nobody accidentally builds freedom. It's intentional. It's chosen. It's on purpose. And it starts small. It starts with aligned decision making, delaying your upgrades, seal your leaks, emotional, controlling your emotions, mastering them. So don't leave this video thinking I need to cut everything. Leave thinking, who am I becoming with my money? Because when your identity shifts, behavior follows. And when behavior shifts, your future changes quickly, steadily, powerfully. You don't need a bigger income to start. You just need better principles. So I hope you can apply these 10 principles to your life. Your life will feel different, not because you restricted it, but because it's led on purpose. So thanks so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you on the next video.